life, as far as our children are concerned, we have absolutely no control. We have responsibility, but not control. And we have to understand the difference between those two things. I have a responsibility to my parents. I cannot control my parents. I have a responsibility to my children until a certain age, until they reach the age where they are answerable to Allah for themselves. When they become baligh, when they're considered adults by Allah, that means when they're standing in trial in front of Allah, Allah will not come and ask you first. He'll ask them directly because they كُلُّهُمْ أَتِيهِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ فَرْدًا. Everyone will come before Allah individually, all alone, nobody else. And so, as we raise our kids, when they get to a certain point, our love for them doesn't go away. Our concern for them doesn't go away. Our du'as for them don't go away. Our desire for them to live a good life doesn't go away. But is Allah going to hold you responsible for the mistake they make? No. To the best of your ability, you try to give advice and then you have to back off. This is something even the Messenger of Allah understood, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The man who had the greatest qualities in every sense of the word, the greatest husband, the greatest leader, the greatest of all prophets, the greatest father. And what does he say to his daughter? Ya Fatima bintu Muhammad. He says, Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, ittaqillah. You need to be cautious of Allah. فَإِنِّي لَا أَمْلِكُ لَكِ مِنَ اللَّهِ شَيْئًا. I no doubt will have no authority to make any case on your behalf in front of Allah. You'll have to stand on your own. I know you're my daughter, but even that doesn't get you anywhere. Even that's not enough. You're going to have to stand on your own merits in front of Allah. This is an important teaching that we need to understand. We cannot change the environment of our children and expect that they're going to come out perfect. We cannot later on start getting frustrated with them when they make bad decisions, because a lot of our kids will make bad decisions, like we made bad decisions. You and I made bad decisions too. We disappointed our parents too. They couldn't control everything we did also. We gave them a hard time too. So what Allah Azza wa Jal does in the Quran is He describes a scenario. And these examples that I wanted to give you was first to help me remember and you remember that our children are simply an amana from Allah, a trust given by Allah Azza wa Jal. How well did we try to raise them? Did we do our part? That's all. Nuh alayhi salam is not questioned for how he raised his son. As messed up as his son was, as rebellious as his son was, he did his part as a father. He did what he could. The rest is between his son and Allah Azza wa Jal. But that doesn't mean that we don't love our kids, and like I told you, lots of conversations. But first and foremost, this is a reality that even prophets were not spared. Nuh alayhi salam had to face it. You have Yaqub alayhi salam had to face it, right? Ibrahim alayhi salam was terrified of it, even though he has fantastic sons. He was terrified of it. He made dua about it. وَجْنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَّ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. Keep me and my children from ever falling into the worship of idols. That's the dua of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So it's not like we're ever going to be free from that concern. But I will tell you one thing. In the ayah there's an ishara, there's an indication. When your son is 18, 19, 20, 25, 28, 30, he's an adult. Maybe a young adult, maybe a very immature adult, maybe one that makes horrible, terrible mistakes in life, but then again, he's still an adult. And when that child or that man or that woman is an adult, and they're making mistakes in life, what is your role? You and I have to remember the rufi al-qalam. The pen has been lifted as far as our responsibility is concerned. Our job was to raise them to the point where they become adults. Once they are adults, they are directly responsible to Allah. The more you try to control them at that age, the more you try to tell them what to do, the more you try to tell your 18-year-old, your 20-year-old, your 25-year-old to pray, 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 the farther they will run from the prayer. The more annoyed they will become. They will actually distance themselves from you. They will want nothing to do with you. They will see you, the mother who loves them, but as soon as they see you, you haven't even opened your mouth. Here we go, mom's going to start her lecture about prayer again. Mom's going to give me a whole talk about how I need to make tawbah, or how I need to stop talking to that girl, or how I need to stop, oh God, you know what, I'm not even coming over. I'm just going to go out. I don't want to deal with it. And the mom says, I'm trying to do da'wah. What do you want me to do? Not do da'wah? Not invite my child? Not make them better? Well, actually, the way you're doing it is making things worse. The way you're doing it is making things worse. Understand that there are two levels of the relationship you have with your children, especially when they get older. There's a spiritual relationship in which you're trying to give them advice, nasiha, counsel, That's a spiritual relationship. And then there's an emotional relationship. A mother is a mother. She loves her child. No matter if he's the worst human being on the earth, she's still going to love her child. And that child, that son, doesn't matter if he becomes 45, he still wants emotional support from his mom. He still turns to his mother for love and care. He still should feel like, no matter who turns me away, my mother will never turn me away. These two things, your role as a spiritual guide, a spiritual counselor, and your role as a mother or a father are two separate things. You have to keep those two things separate. And sometimes when our children rebel and go away from Allah, then they don't need you to be a da'i. They don't need you to give them spiritual advice because that will push them further away. They just need you to be a mom right now. Just make them food. Don't talk about deen for a while. Don't bring it up. Because you know the last 10 times you brought it up, what happened? You should learn from your own experience. Advise the father. Don't lose your cool. Don't start complaining. The son comes home once in a month. And that 1 month, the father says, oh, you finally show up? And he says, this is why I don't come. Because you talk like this. And he walks out again. What did you gain? What did you gain? This is why you'll understand that when Yaqub alayhi salam was brought a shirt dirty with blood, and he knew that his sons were lying, he knew it. He understood that right now I can do nothing about this situation. So the words that came out of his mouth are forever going to resonate for any parent who has adult children that are out of control. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ وَاللَّهُ الْمُسْتَعَانُ عَلَى مَا تَصِفُونَ. The only thing beautiful left now is patience. I need to demonstrate beautiful, there's such a thing as ugly patience, by the way. But he needs to demonstrate beautiful patience. He needs to keep a smile, maintain at least the emotional part of the relationship. How are you doing, son? Are you eating well? Is everything okay? Don't bring up deen. Just maintain the relationship. Why? Why am I saying that? Because shaitan will come to that foolish young man or that foolish young woman and say to them, your parents hate you. They always criticize you. They're always nagging you. They're always lecturing you. Forget them. Live your life. Get away. They don't love you. If they loved you, would they talk to you like this? And he or she are going to go far and far and far away. Your job as parents now, perhaps more difficult than the waking up in the middle of the night and changing their diapers and taking them to the hospital when their fever spikes at 2 a.m, and taking care of their school and getting them ready and all those exhausting years that you had. That was actually easier. What you're being asked to do now is much harder. To demonstrate beautiful patience. And maybe to find other sources to give them advice, not you. Maybe somebody else needs to talk to them. The worst thing you can, by the way, sometimes our children, they're programmed at a certain age, and you and I were like this too. You'll take advice from anyone except if it comes from your father. If it comes from your father, you're annoyed before he even opens his mouth. You're agitated. Your mother says, watch this video. Listen to this sheikh. Listen to this. Oh God, here she goes again. I don't want, there are people who come up to me. I hate you, they tell me. I hate you. I'm like, what did I do? Because not you. My mom makes me watch your videos all the time. I can't stand you. Please don't make me make your kids watch my videos. Please don't, I'm telling you. You're pushing them further away. It doesn't help. You can't shove religion down their throats. Just be a parent. Just be a parent. As painful as it is, as rebellious as they've become, they need something else from you at this point. And so I leave you with the following. Even with Luqman, who's probably the longest passage on parenting in the Quran. There's no other place in the Quran that deals with the subject of parenting as exhaustively. And that's brief, but the case of Luqman, radiallahu anhu. But look at how Allah Azza wa Jal describes it. Just one part of it. إِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ. There's lots of conditions. When at the very moment when Luqman said to his son, while he was in a position to counsel him. In other words, Luqman doesn't just give his son lecture after lecture after lecture. He finds the right time, the right opportunity. He thinks of a strategic opportunity and then brings up, Ya bunayya la tushrik billah. My son, take Allah seriously. Don't do shirk with Allah. He doesn't just throw that lecture on his son constantly. There's actually a haliyah wa huwa ya'iluhu suggesting he was very strategic. If that opportunity presents itself, well and good. If it doesn't, then take your time. Be patient. Parents that are in this audience already know. You've already had many conflicting arguments and discussions. You've already had fights where somebody stormed out of the house or yelled and screamed or slammed a door. You already know that if you're going to have that conversation start again, it's going to end up the same way. Be smart about it. Don't walk into that same trap again. I never want to be the kind of parent that has to say, وَيْلَكَ آمِن, to get to the point where I lose it and I start cursing and I start yelling and screaming at my children. And I never want to hear from my children, this religion is nothing but old stories. And they're not saying it because they disbelieve in religion, they're saying it because they're annoyed with their parents. They can't take it anymore. This conflict, this tension needs to be brought down. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us wiser parents and more obedient children. May Allah Azza wa Jal soften the hearts of both parents and children.